learning how to talk to a camera and be natural was probably one of the hardest things for me to overcome as a YouTube content creator. And now that I think about it, it's probably the #1 reason why people never start a YouTube channel. They just feel way too awkward talking to a camera and they can't get over it. So that's why in today's video, I'm gonna be totally candid with you guys and share 7 mistakes that I've made along the journey of talking to the camera and how I was able to work through them so that I could essentially talk more naturally to you guys, the audience. Mistake #1 that I made when talking to a camera was that I talked to the camera as a camera and not as a person. When you're out filming and vlogging and making these videos, you shouldn't talk to the camera as a camera. You should think of it as a human being that you're talking to, because there's nothing more awkward than just staring at some object and talking to it. In our everyday life interactions, when we talk, we're usually talking to a human being. So I find it's much more helpful to visualize this situation as me talking to a human being and not just a camera. And if it really helps, you could even just like glue a little human being on top of your lens or a little stick person to remind you that, yeah, that's true. When I'm talking to the camera, I am actually talking to a human being, because on the other side of the screen, someone is watching this video. So this interaction right now that we're having, I'm not talking to a camera, I'm actually talking to you, the person behind the screen right now. We're interacting, we're talking, I'm talking to a human being. All right, just got my shoulder workout in there, holding the camera like that. It's so bright out here, so let's go back into the office and talk through the rest of my mistakes. Mistake #2, what is that? I just did it right there. I looked at the screen and not the lens. This is a classic mistake that I've often done, and I know many other people do, is that they don't look at the lens and instead they stare at the screen because that's what they're seeing and they're getting distracted by. And you can tell that when I look at the screen like this right now, it looks like I'm just awkwardly avoiding you. Whereas if I'm looking at the lens, actually talking to you and having eye contact with you, it's a lot more relaxed and natural. Of course, while you're filming, you can, look around a little bit and take a little pause. You don't have to directly stare into the lens like this, because that also can be intimidating. But a big no-no is looking at the screen right there, like that, what I'm doing right now. If it distracts you, you notice that you're often looking at your screen, you can use the screen in the beginning to check out your composition, your lighting, but then once you know it's good, you can just flip it around and back to the camera. That way, it's not gonna distract you. So don't make the mistake of staring at the screen instead of staring at the lens. I do apologize in advance for all the echo. It is a hallway, but I just really like the lighting in front of that window, so had to film the second mistake there. The third mistake that I made was trying to say it all at once. Whenever I was talking to the camera, I put this pressure on myself that I gotta say everything that I wanna say in one go. And in the end, this put a whole lot of pressure on me, and I would actually make a whole bunch of mistakes. And the more mistakes that I would make, the more flustered I would get, and the harder it just got in the end. So nowadays, what I actually do is I have a SmallRig friction arm with a clamp for my iPhone, which has my notes. And I actually just talk to the camera and share, thought by thought or line by line. And once I've done the line, I can take a pause, look at my iPhone, make sure that I said what I was supposed to say, and then I can continue on from there. Then with the power of the jump cut and editing in Final Cut Pro, I can just seamlessly put them all together, making it look like a very natural talking sequence. Really, to fool you guys, think that I say all these things in just one go, whereas I actually am saying this line by line, literally. Doing this is gonna take so much of the pressure and stress off of you, and in return, it's gonna be a much more natural and enjoyable experience. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to have to say everything in one go. Break it up into chunks, and that way it's gonna be a lot more natural and fun. The fourth mistake that I made when talking to camera was trying to spontaneously just start recording without preparing a script. When I did this, I would make a whole bunch of mistakes and I would just ramble a whole lot, and in the end, it didn't even make sense. Whereas when I did actually script out my videos and put my thoughts down to paper, I was really able to absorb what I wanted to say, and in return, it was a lot more natural to talk to the camera when I had a script written down. Also, it would actually allow the exact opposite of what people would expect. You think that if you have a script, it's very rigid and not very free-flowing, but when I did have a script, it actually allowed me to be more spontaneous at times. So my 2 cents is, don't just try to spontaneously press record and start talking to the camera. Actually write down a script. Think about what thoughts you want to share with your audience, because it's going to be a lot more easier to talk to the camera, and as well, it's going to make a lot more sense. Mistake number 5 is choosing a difficult location. When you're starting out, you're not that comfortable yet and you're not that confident talking to camera, so don't make the mistake that I made in choosing a difficult location to film at. I remember one of the first times that I was vlogging and filming these videos, I was on a trip with my brother Matty to Washington, DC. And the moment I pulled out my GorillaPod and started vlogging, I was an immediate victim. I was just prey to all the young tourist kids there because the moment they saw my GorillaPod and camera setup, they knew that I was a YouTuber and they wanted to be in the videos. So while I was filming these talking head shots, they were literally jumping in the background and trying to be in the video, and it was just impossible to film myself talking. I literally had to walk away and find a more secluded place where I could get relaxed and be able to talk to the camera. So when you're first starting out learning to talk to the camera, try choosing locations that are gonna allow you to be relaxed and comfortable talking to the camera. Then result is just gonna be way more relaxed and clear versus if you're filming in a very difficult location. Then over time, when you've put the reps in and you become more comfortable and confident, then you can choose locations that maybe are a little bit more intimidating. Like recently, I've been vlogging and filming these videos on a train or in the airport lounge where there's just people all around, and 10 years ago, I would never have been able to do that. But nowadays, because I put the reps in, I feel a lot more comfortable and confident. It's doable nowadays. So don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. You get to be the person who decides which locations you're gonna be filming in. So choose locations that are gonna allow you to be relaxed and comfortable when talking to the camera. Mistake number 6 is just sitting idle and staring to the lens of your camera. It's a mistake that I often made in the past and still from time to time, because I find that it's a lot more comfortable and more natural if you're doing an activity that you enjoy, or tinkering with something in your hands. For example, you could be, on a walk and talking to the camera, or driving, which is really automatic and just, second nature. So while you're driving, then it's easy to talk to your camera. And I find that when you're doing an activity, for example, if I was unscrewing these screws on this, camera cage, because you're doing something else while talking to the camera, it almost distracts your brain a little bit from the fact that you're talking to camera and kind of takes away the nervousness, which in turn allows you to be a lot more natural while talking to the camera. So if you find for yourself that it's a little bit overwhelming just to talk to the camera and stare into the lens, you don't have to do that. You can be doing something at the same time, whether it's just, opening up these screws and attaching this base plate to the camera. Even though this has nothing to do with what I'm about to do, the fact that I just have something to tinker with while I'm talking to the camera, it allows me to just be a lot more natural. It almost makes it feel like we're just hanging out together at my office and you're just sitting across from my desk and I'm just setting up my camera gear for a shoot and we're just having a good time together. So try that out. Instead of just sitting idly, talking to the camera, try doing activity like walking or driving a car or whatever it is that you feel really comfortable. And then at the same time, you can talk and share your thoughts to the camera. The last and final mistake was that I just didn't put in the reps. I kind of assumed that you can just pick up the camera and start talking and that you'd be a natural. But for me, it was definitely not the case. Far from the truth, because I didn't feel natural at all talking to camera. In fact, I felt really stiff and uncomfortable and just not relaxed at all. And really, it's like with any skill, you gotta put in the reps to get comfortable. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get, the more confident you get, and the easier it's gonna get to talk to the camera. I can guarantee that if you look at any bigger YouTuber and you go and look at their first videos and now compare it to their latest videos, there's been a huge change when it comes to how comfortable and confident they are talking to the camera. And that's because they put the reps in. They've spent literally hundreds, if not thousands of hours talking to a camera and getting comfortable and building that confidence. And that's why now they're able to look so natural talking to the camera. So that was my mistake, just assuming that I would be comfortable and natural right away, when instead I've had to put the reps in to build that confidence and to get more comfortable talking to the camera. But yeah, those are my 7 mistakes that I've made talking to the camera. Hopefully you can learn from these mistakes and it would ramp up the process for you to learn how to talk and be comfortable in front of a camera. Oh, and if you like this video, make sure you subscribe because I'd love to have you a part of this community.